Well, good morning, Jim.
Hi, Ralph. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Okay, and welcome to our listeners. Glad to be here at the university with our sound effects.
Yes, indeed, in our palatial studio.
Indeed. Well, Ralph, we've talked in the last while about some of the, problems that are out there in the world.
And there are lots of them.
Yeah, but that can kind of bring people down.
Yeah, and one of the things we want to do today is to kind of switch trajectories and talk to our listeners about some of the things that make for a happier life.
Martin Seligman, kind of the father of positive psychology, has done some work with happiness.
He has.
And the story behind why he got involved with optimism?
Well, I know a little bit about it. Why don't you tell our listeners what you know?
Well, let's see, he was really involved with clinical psych and anxiety and pessimism. And apparently he was fairly grouchy. He's at University of Pennsylvania, and people would avoid him because of his grouchiness. And he was talking to his daughter one day. His daughter said, "Dad, if I can give up eating candy, how come you can't give up being grouchy?" And that hit him like right between the eyes. And so he changed his attitude and started to do work on optimism and positive things.
Okay.
So, I guess what we have to do, Ralph, is we've got to turn off our social media, turn off the news, and put a smile on our face, right?
Well, yeah, and it can't be an artificial smile. So how do you get a real smile? Well, if you have a life that is rich with positive emotions, if you feel good generally through the day, if you have great or at least good relationships with friends, you have strengths that you can practice, and you have a sense of purpose, you're a long way further toward being a happy person.
Whoa. Well, those all sound good, but as a clinical psychologist, I know that a lot of people are just plain missing out on some of those.
Well, there's no doubt about that, Jim. And one of the things that we can say to people is it starts at a very basic level. It starts with eating nourishing food.
Okay, so the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Eating nourishing food. Now, we have not mentioned protecting your family's health lately, but it is available from us, free of charge, if you email Carro, Carro 1JL, at cmish.edu. I will send it out to you as an ebook.
Sounds good.
Speaking of ebooks, we've been working on our human trafficking course, right, Ralph?
We have done that,
Yeah.
and we're pretty close to finishing it, probably another week or two.
Yeah. Now we'll talk about that later, but after working on human trafficking, becomes kind of an antidote to talk about happiness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
one of the things, Jim, that we know about people who are kind of down all the time and depressed and maybe like Seligman, grouchy, they don't get enough sleep.
That's a good point. Almost no one gets enough sleep.
Yeah, I've heard people brag
That they can run on 3 hours.
they
Right?
can run on 3 hours.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, if I get 4 hours sleep a night, I'm doing well.
Yeah, not so much.
Not so much.
Okay.
No.
Hey, we have an ebook on that one too.
Yeah.
Sleep and sleep disorders. again, if you're interested in taking a look at it, send me an email. Because, yeah, getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep each night is, I think, pretty important. The thing that's interesting here, Ralph, is that the people who need to have regular sleep and more sleep are kids in the age of, I don't know, 10 to 16.
Okay.
And
The
the children,
growing years,
yeah,
the maturation years.
the children that I see are not getting that kind of sleep at all. They're staying up, even though their parents put them to bed. They've got their devices on and they're hiding, under the covers. Well, you used to do that with books, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
flashlight and books, but
But
electronic stuff is different.
Yeah.
Partially because it's blue light screen, which tends to stimulate parts of the brain that are not good to be stimulated at night. And secondly, because it's much more addictive than a book. You can read yourself to be tired and fall asleep with the book in your lap.
But you play yourself to be wired, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So I suppose that would be on our list too. Avoid an overdose or an overuse of electronics.
Yeah. And particularly because, there's a cliche in journalism that if it bleeds, it leads. So the news tends not to tell the good stories about somebody who found a stray kitten and
Rescued a
took it
kitty
in.
cat, yeah.
Yeah, no, and that gets lost in the welter of shot to death, car crash, blah blah. Everything negative, bad, and ugly that you can think about, because it sells.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. And you might say that kids don't focus on the news, but it's there 24 hours a day in their family. And we've got some families that have television sets in every room and they're on all the time. So this stuff is getting in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I would say avoid news overdose in general and negative news in particular.
yeah, and I think we mentioned it before, Jim, but you talked about how, 3 minutes of negative news per morning
Yeah.
can set you up for a bad day, all day, 8 hours.
Yeah. That happened to me, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and I was at a hotel down in Detroit. Got up early, turned on the news to see what the weather was going to be, and 3 minutes later, it was a downer.
Yeah.
The weather was good, but nothing else was.
Now, one of the other things, and this sometimes can be an anodyne for negative news, is, you hear negative news and you say, gee, that made me feel pretty bad. Well, that's a good time, if you can, to go out and get some exercise. Take a walk, even just if it's around the block.
Okay, so exercise is good for you. I heard or read someplace that optimally we should have about 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week.
Per week.
So
Yeah.
what does that come out to? 20 minutes a day or something like that?
20 minutes a day is lots. Now, you can look at a lot of people today, and many people look like they get 2 hours of exercise every day because they're slim and trim and fit. But there are other people who look like the picture of them should be in the dictionary under sloth. And, they don't get any exercise. They go to work, they sit at a desk chair 8 hours a day, they come home, they turn on the TV and they sit in their chair, and they don't move for most of the evening.
So that contributes to the grumpiness that Seligman's daughter noted, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
I mean, you're watching, even if you're watching comedy, you end up saying, "Oh, these things are so formula."
And even comedy was getting not so funny when I turned it off. This week, an actor from Friends died, and my wife and I had never seen this very popular TV show called Friends. Other people look at it religiously. My daughter binge watches episodes of it. So, yeah. You talked about starting the day with exercise. What Sheila and I do is we start the day with a morning devotional, and
Okay.
of course with our religious beliefs, and it's all very optimistic, and hey, we're ready to go. It's like communication from on high. Jim and Sheila will set the day positively.
Okay, suppose you're a person who's an agnostic or an atheist even, and you say, well, I don't believe in that stuff. You know what? Doing 5 minutes of meditation or mindfulness will have a similar effect.
Mm-hmm. I believe you. Meditation, the pastor said the other day, is just another word for prayer.
Yeah.
So that's something that I can understand. Other people, may use various forms of getting into a mindful set, but using numbers, looking at a candle. You like to go out and just be in nature.
Yeah, I find that very calming, and it, makes me much happier when I come back into my regular activities.
Back into your regular mind.
Yeah, into my regular mind, such as it is.
One of the things that contributes to happiness, and Seligman talked about this, and we will put that TED Talk under Learn More. But he talked about 3 kinds of happiness. One was what do you call it? The French vanilla ice cream happiness. You take a bite of French vanilla ice cream, it tastes fantastic, tastes wonderful. But after about 3 bites, it's kind of gone. And another one was the doing something that you really enjoy.
Right.
That was the second form. But the third form that had the most lasting effect was when you're doing something that you really enjoy and it's meaningful.
Okay.
And, I see a lot of people, you mentioned people who go into work and sit in their chair at work, and I talk to them about what they're getting out of their day. And, Ralph, they hate it.
Yeah. The truth is that a lot of the work that is done today in offices, for the people doing it is essentially rote tasks that are fairly meaningless to them.
Mm-hmm. And there's another part of it too. And I was listening to NPR yesterday, and they were doing a story on healthcare provider burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And healthcare providers, no question, are doing a very meaningful job, but they're so overloaded and bureaucratized that they don't have time really to do the work that they were trained to do with actual human beings.
Yeah.
So the system has taken the meaning out of healthcare.
And part of that, I think, Jim, is that when you mention bureaucratized, so much of healthcare now focuses on the method by which records are kept so that insurance companies can reimburse the patient. And so you spend a lot of your time as a healthcare worker documenting things and less time actually working with a patient.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is, I think, frustrating for a lot of healthcare workers because, they got into their career because they wanted to help people.
Well, we've looked in the last 15 minutes, Ralph, at things that can contribute to a happy life. Eating well, getting enough sleep, keeping company with positive people, avoid social media overdose and negative news overdose. Get your 20 minutes.
Exercise, do something meaningful every day. And, one of the things that you say, well, how do I do that? I mean, it sounds kind of overwhelming. Well, one of the ways is to monitor your energy temperature. So if you said, right now, do I feel energized? Not so much, maybe not at all. I'm a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. There are going to be times during the day that you feel like a 10.
So pay attention to that and try and figure out what contributed to your 10-ness, right?
Right, and so I say to you guys, right now I feel like a 9 or 10.
Well, Mr. 10, this is Jim
And Ralph,
saying, keep your stick on the ice
because we're all in this
together.